Hello. So finally we have Blake Lively's filing, but I just wanted to quickly go through this. This is an entry on the docket. It's sealed, so I can't open it. But it's a letter addressed to Judge Lyman, and it's a letter motion for the continued sealing. And it says here that the document was filed by, it lists a bunch of people: Jen Abel, Melissa Nathan, Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, Blake Lively, Brianna Butler Coslow, Betty B. Holdings, Jed Wallace, Jones Works, AJ Marbury, Tara Hanks, Shusty Fla, Paylocity Corporation, Jennifer Benson, Catherine Case, It Ends With Us Movie, Sanctuary for Families, they did the amicus brief, Give Back Beauty International, Jamie Heath, Family Hive, Isabella Ferrer, Mario Lavandiera, who's obviously Perez Hilton, Elise Dorsey, James Vituska, Sony, Street, It Ends With Us Movie, again. Sarah Nathan, that's Melissa Nathan's sister, Ahmed Musial, Child USA, another amicus brief, Steve Saretz, Lynette Keshishian, is that Sweet and Salty Lynn? Tag, Equal Rights Advocates, Jerry S. Blackmon, Marvel Entertainment, Vision PR, Ashmi Dang, Josh Greenstein, and Leslie Sloan. So normally when they file sealed letters, there will be like, this one, sealed for the parties only. So, the parties can access it, but we can't. They normally then file like an additional one, which is just, for like, it's unsealed and it's for public, but it's got a load of redactions in it. But they haven't filed the public version, so I don't know what that is. But if we do get something filed, I will read that to you. All right, so we have Blake Lively, and I say Ryan Reynolds because she does make arguments for Ryan Reynolds exhibits to be sealed as well. So this is Blake Lively's request for continued sealing, also on behalf of Ryan Reynolds. Dear Judge Lyman, on behalf of plaintiff Blake Lively, we write pursuant to attachment A to the court's individual rules to respectfully request that the court temporarily seal Exhibits A to D to Miss Lively's letter motion for continued sealing of limited materials filed under seal in connection with Miss Lively's and Ryan Reynolds' motions for sanctions pursuant to Rule 11, the Wayfarer defendant's motion for summary judgment, and Miss Lively's opposition to the motion for summary judgment, pending the court's ruling on the motion. Exhibits A to C contain Miss Lively's proposed redactions to documents that are currently temporarily sealed in this action. Exhibit D is a corrected copy of P1, designated confidential in this action. In addition, Miss Lively respectfully requests that the court permanently seal portions of the declaration of Kristen E. Bender in support of the motion, which implicate privacy interests of third parties that are appropriately sealed for the same reasons discussed in the motion. Okay. So let's see. So then the actual motion for sealing reads, let's make that a little bigger actually. Dear Judge Lyman, on behalf of Blake Lively, we write pursuant to the court's December 19th, 2025 order, Rule 2, H2, and Rule 1 of Attachment A to Your Honour's individual rules to respectfully request the unsealing of the record and documents filed under seal in connection with Miss Lively's and Mr. Reynolds' motion for sanctions pursuant to Rule 11, the Wayfarer defendant's motion for summary judgment, and Miss Lively's opposition to the motion for summary judgment, except with respect to narrow information that was designated confidential and/or attorney's eyes only by parties or third parties pursuant to the operative protective order. Specifically, Miss Lively requests that the court continue to seal specified information from 1. Exhibits A to F and I to the declaration of Brian Friedman in support of the Wayfarer defendant's opposition to the Lively party's motion for leave to supplement motion for sanctions. 2. Exhibits 42, 45, 47 to 48, 53, 87, 95, 102, 133 to 37, 146, 148 to 49, 205, 207, and 210 to 11, to the declaration of Alexandra Shapiro in support of the motion for summary judgment, and 3. Exhibits 18, 19, 22, 33, 81 through 85, 95, 104, 106, 108, 111, 114, 135, 137, and 152, to the declarations of Michael Gottlieb in support of Miss Lively's opposition to the motion for summary judgment. Miss Lively respectfully requests that the materials remain under seal because they, 1. implicate third parties' privacy interests and or 2. contain non-disclosed financial and commercial information. Privacy interests of third parties. Courts in this circuit routinely seal documents to protect the privacy interests of third parties. Okay. Courts have long declined to allow public access simply to cater to a morbid craving for that which is sensational and impure. Ms. Lively's narrowly tailored requests seek to seal 1. Limited confidential communication strictly between third parties. Okay. 2. Limited communications with or about third parties who lack any substantial connection to It Ends With Us, the film, and or this litigation. 3. Testimony disclosing a third party's medical condition. What? What? Okay. I find it fascinating that she is now concerned about exposing confidential communications between third parties. When she put Melissa Nathan and Jen Abel's text messages in the New York Times. I also find it perverse, almost, that she is concerned about disclosing a third party's medical condition when she has done nothing but to Jed Wallace. Repeatedly in Texas. The documents in each of these categories implicate the privacy interests of third parties and should therefore be sealed. First, of the 940 exhibits subject to the parties' pending motions, Ms. Lively requests only that 8 communications between third parties remain under seal in their entirety, and that 3 third-party communications be unsealed except for Ms. Lively's proposed limited redactions. Private communications between third-party Ryan Reynolds and his talent agents are appropriately subject to sealing to protect third-party privacy interests. Are they really? Mr. Reynolds was named as a defendant in the Wayfarer defendant's now dismissed litigation, but he is neither a party to this litigation nor has he substantially participated in it. I mean, he's filed for sanctions. I suppose it's fair to say, I mean, he was obviously subject to the case, the Wayfarer v. Lively case, and not particularly this one. But indeed, the Wayfarer defendants did not even depose Mr. Reynolds in this litigation, even though he offered to make himself available. I want to hear from Wayfarer. I am not going to assume that that is true, especially because that's come from Blake Lively. But if it is true, why did they not depose him? I'm curious. He did not ask to be involved in this lawsuit. Okay, but he offered to make himself available for deposition. And disclosure of his communications would do nothing more than cater for the craving for that which is sensational material, to which the courts have long declined to allow public access. The communications should be sealed in their entirety. Certain communications between crew members also implicate third-party interests, and Ms. Lively requests continued partial sealing on that basis. Second, Ms. Lively seeks to shield from disclosure the names and identifying information of third parties with or about whom she has communicated who have not been subject to discovery in this action, have little to no connection to the film, and or may lack any substantial involvement in the litigation. Release of the information subject to Ms. Lively's limited redactions may increase the risk of exposure, and in the case of at least one third party, continued exposure to harassment in the press and or social media, and poses security, safety, and privacy risks. I'm really happy to see her all for protecting third parties' rights, but she quite cheerfully submitted a secret recording of Steve Sarowitz speaking to Claire Ayub when he had no knowledge that he was being recorded. And also, she was quoting from that conversation as well for months, right from the start of this, and that caused an arson attempt at Steve Sarowitz's house. They threatened to kidnap his daughter, and hold her for ransom. And they specifically referred to Lively in the ransom demand. Bear that in mind when I say this next sentence. Protecting the physical safety of third parties is a higher value that warrants continued sealing. Sealing is also appropriate because most of the implicated third parties are actors who were considered for but not cast in the film. Third, Ms. Lively seeks partial sealing of deposition testimony referencing a third party's medical information. The interest in shielding health information from public disclosure routinely outweighs the presumption of judicial access. Non-disclosed financial and commercial information. As this court has recognized, non-disclosed financial information, including financial information such as compensation, is sufficiently sensitive to overcome the presumption of public access. This is precisely the type of information that Ms. Lively seeks to maintain fully under seal in P1. Exhibits 81 through 85 and partially under seal in P1. Sorry, my voice is going. Ms. Lively seeks to maintain under seal detailed financials concerning the film's profits, including but not limited to residuals, distribution fees, and trade dues as applicable. Related payments issued to Ms. Lively, the form of Ms. Lively's earned compensation on a separate film, and the typical payment rate of a non-party crew member disclosed in the context of confidential job negotiations. Disclosure of such financial information, which has no bearing on the pending motions, risks imposing financial, business, and commercial harm to Ms. Lively and others not party to this litigation. Ms. Lively therefore requests that the court maintain P1, fully under seal and partially seal P1. Okay. So I understand, I know people are going to say to me, but, she's claiming this and she's put her own, what she earned, etc., and how she earned it, kind of in question. And there is some truth to that. However, what she's saying is for the purpose of the motion to dismiss, what she earned is irrelevant. Her financial information and everything is irrelevant. And that is actually true. That's true. It may come up at a later time, and become relevant then. But the motion for summary, sorry, not the motion to dismiss, the motion for summary judgment. So when the information is attached as exhibits to the motion for summary judgment, in the context of that, it is, there to support a motion for summary judgment. And it may be information that's just there incidentally because there's something else on the same page. But her financial information, her earning, how she earns, is not really relevant to whether, Wayfarer are, awarded summary judgment, and the judge's kind of consideration of their motion of that. So I get it, and I know people are not going to love it when I say that, but that is the truth. This court has observed that confidential commercial information is likewise sufficiently sensitive to shield from public disclosure. In addition to reflecting non-disclosed financial information, Exhibits 84 through 85 reflect William Morris Endeavour, WME, commission rate. Disclosure of WME's confidential business information, such as commission rates it negotiates with high-profile clients, such as Ms. Lively, risks harming the non-party agency's competitive standing. Ms. Lively thus requests that the court maintain P1 fully under seal. Okay. I don't know if there's anything else. Okay, so I was going to try and see if there was anything in the exhibits that she's filed as well, and they're all under seal. So there's nothing really we can look at, but yeah, interesting. I think some of that will definitely get sealed. I don't agree with Ryan Reynolds should have his stuff sealed just because it's not fair to him, and the public want a scandal. Some of them are relevant. They are relevant to potentially to Lively's causes of actions. Well, they may be relevant. I don't know what they actually include, but they wouldn't have been kind of submitted. And in the opposition, in Wayfarer's opposition to the supplemental sanctions, Friedman specifically said that, actually there's evidence that Ryan Reynolds was defamatory. So I think I would like to see them unsealed, but we'll have to see how Wayfarer respond to this, which they will do on the 12th. Okay. If there's any other, because there are quite a few of these filings which have got exhibits. I've done the WME exhibits. I will go through and look at the other exhibits and see if any of them are not under seal, and then I'll do videos for them.